Hello, and welcome to this episode of Faith and Community. This is a show that features faith communities and congregations in our viewing area and gives them an opportunity to talk about what they're doing to build strong and healthy community around them in your neighborhood. I'm Kate Seitz-Bortner, the Associate Minister at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York on South George Street. My guests today are from Habitat for Humanity, a very important program in our community. I have Executive Director Debbie Kraut-Althoff. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Stacy Charland. And Stacy, I'm going to let you talk about what you do at Habitat.
Thanks, Kate. I am the Family Services and Faith Relations Manager for York Habitat. So I work with the families from start to finish, from finding them to getting them through the program. And I also work with the faith community, getting them involved in information and connecting with Habitat.
Those are two very big jobs for one person to do.
Yes.
How long have you been with Habitat?
I just had my 3-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Debbie, you've been with Habitat for quite some time, so talk a little bit about your history with Habitat.
Well, I've been with the organization about 17 years now. So I was there 13 years, took a 4-year hiatus, and came back again, been back about 4 years. So I've really had the opportunity to see the organization grow and change and you know, the impact that it's made in the community over the last 17 years has just been remarkable.
Yes, it has. When I worked with the city, I had an opportunity to really see the same things from a very different perspective. And Habitat's always been one of those programs that I have a real respect for, because I know that it doesn't just change lives of the families that are involved. It changes community.
Absolutely.
Truly. So for viewers who may not have ever really known what Habitat is about, I would suspect most of them have heard the name. Tell us really what Habitat is and its scope, not just in York, but as an organization.
Right. Well, and there are, as well known as the program is, there are still a lot of misconceptions or misunderstandings of the program. So it was actually started back in 1976 by Millard and Linda Fuller. And most people think that President Jimmy Carter started it. And, he was very, very actively involved a few years after it started. And once he got involved, it just grew in leaps and bounds. But it was actually started by Millard and Linda. And Millard was a self-made millionaire in his early 20s. And his goal became to make more money tomorrow than he did today. And as money often does, it started to destroy his family. And Linda gave him the choice of choose your family or your wealth. And luckily he chose his family, donated all his millions to a local college, and they traveled to Africa. And of course saw poverty firsthand. And when they came back to the United States, they came back to a small farm in Georgia called Koinonia Farm. And back in the 70s, racism was very prevalent, especially in the South. But the wonderful thing about Koinonia was whites and blacks were treated equally. They farmed together, they ate together. The farm was actually shunned by the community because of their equality beliefs. So, but that's where the idea began. The very first Habitat house was built for a poor black man on Koinonia Farm, and whites and blacks joining together to build that house for this gentleman. And it just took off from there and traveled up the eastern coast. We became an affiliate in 1985. We're actually the third oldest in Pennsylvania, so we're older than the big guys, the Philadelphias and the Pittsburghs. Oh. Yeah, and Millard came here to help us get started back then, and it has just grown. There's over 1,600 affiliates in the United States now, and we each kind of cover our own territory. We have York County, but surrounding us is Harrisburg and Adams County and Cumberland Valley and Carlisle. So I don't think there's an area in the United States that's not covered by a Habitat affiliate. And then it has even grown worldwide into the point where in 93 countries worldwide, over 3 million people are housed and adequately housed in Habitat homes. And one of the most awesome statistics is every 22 minutes a family moves into a Habitat house somewhere in the world.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
What a wonderful statistic to know.
Right.
Over against all of the, every so many seconds something bad
Right,
happens.
right.
Yeah.
Every 22 minutes.
Every 22 minutes, a Habitat family gets into their own home.
Yes.
Oh my. Well, that's a takeaway that
Yeah.
I'll remember.
And the international growth is spearheaded by the United States affiliates tithing 10% of their undesignated contributions, meaning monies that come to us that are not designated to a specific program or project are then, for us, our sister affiliate is in Uganda, Africa. So we will tithe 10% of our undesignated funds, and we have built 99.6 homes in Uganda just from York Habitat dollars.
Wow.
From York County. Yeah.
Wow.
So when I started in 1994, it was $2,500 US to build a house in Uganda. Now it's up to $4,500. So it does take us a bit longer, but we're just waiting to celebrate the day when we have paid for that 100th house in Uganda.
That's terrific. Are these, I'm sort of stuck on that idea about Uganda, are they throughout the country or in a specific location?
They're throughout. We work with the Uganda affiliate is a very strong ministry and one that keeps in. They are excellent with keeping in touch with us and letting us know just what an impact our dollars are making. So it is throughout Uganda. They've gone to and it's not only building homes. They have programs where they do the financing to help the Ugandan people get started with small businesses,
like micro lending.
Correct. Yeah, so it's going even far beyond, and the pictures that they send are just amazing. What we think of as poverty here, is nothing. I mean, they're living in basically mud shacks, and then when they get what they feel is a beautiful brick home with a workable toilet, it's just impacting. And in Uganda, generations live together. So you're not only affecting those here and now, but for generations to come. So it's been really very a blessing to us to know the good that we're doing not only here but overseas as well.
That it is a remarkable and far-reaching program. One of the most successful, I think, examples of healthy. I don't even want to use the word charity, but it's systemic and institutional change that's really worth investing in, because it's not just. I'm sure you've heard this 100 times. It's not just giving a fish to someone who's hungry. It's really teaching people how to work. And so there's another aspect of Habitat that I'm aware of that's unique, and that is the teaching someone how to fish part of it. So say a little bit about that. I'll ask you, Stacy, you work with a family, so maybe you can start with that.
Yeah, our program for our families is a very long and complex kind of program. They come in and it takes them about 12 to 18 months to complete the program. So it's not a quick fix by any stretch. We have income guidelines, we have debt guidelines, so they have to initially fit into those guidelines. But once they do get accepted into our program and fit those guidelines, they have they have to do monthly budgets with a family partner. They have sweat equity or volunteer hours that they have to do, first-time homebuyer classes. So these are families that are working or going to school, have children, and so on top of all of that, they have to meet all of our requirements. So it gets to sometimes be a long journey. You just have to, they're reminded that there is that light at the end of the tunnel. But so then they get to work firsthand on their home. So a lot of people, they buy a home or build a home, but they don't have to get to help build it. So our families are actually there helping build it, and so learning those skills again, so that later when something may need fixed or repaired, they have learned some of those skills that they learned when they were initially building their homes.
Right. So this is about a family learning a lot from simple home economics and budgeting for life, to literally which end of a hammer to use and when not to use a hammer.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I'm also aware that those families then not only help with their own home, but then they they very often remain active with Habitat and help other people build their homes.
Yeah, and yes, and we have an ongoing. So it's not when they go to mortgage that there's no more contact with the family. We have an ongoing family enrichment program where we run seminars that the families are interested in. We do a picnic and a holiday party for the families. They come to our banquet. So it's really about keeping them close and being able to keep those resources going. They're matched with a family partner through our process who's a volunteer and liaison who helps them every step of the way. But then often that friendship continues, long beyond that they go to mortgage. So we hear about families still being very close to their partners. So I think that and it speaks volumes to the success of the program is just tremendous. One of the biggest misconceptions is that we're just a giveaway program, and if there's anything that we can educate, it's about how hard these families work and how they're living paycheck to paycheck and just trying to make a better life for their family. And Habitat boasts one of the greatest statistics and success is here in York, and this is true of Habitat affiliates worldwide, but here in York we have a 98% success rate. So we've done 113 homes over 29 years, and we've only had one default in 29 years. So that right there, these families, they just want to make it work. And if there's any way to keep them in the homes, we will. And they pay back the mortgage, which is another misconception. They're paying it at 0% interest rate. So of course it's affordable for them. But again, their income level is so low. So I just can't say, enough about when, especially, somebody coming out to help these families build. They're not only building a home, as you said, they're changing their life forever. And these are families that are so dedicated, to their family, to the community. They become taxpayers. They're not getting a break on their taxes. So if you have a Habitat family living right next door to you, they're paying the exact same real estate tax, only they're paying it on a much lower income scale than the typical person is. So it is truly a remarkable. I think that's why it's so successful, is because it's all encompassing. You can help pay a utility bill, or you can help offer some services, but think about the impact that having a safe, decent, affordable home makes in anybody's life. So we've really been blessed to be part of such an amazing ministry.
Absolutely, especially in today's economy with the housing crisis that we've been experiencing recently. People who would think of themselves as being able to afford the home of their dreams have seen that just fly out the window. And we hear a lot of talk about the American dream of everybody being able to own their own home is dead. Habitat for Humanity just flies in the face of all of those alarming and sometimes very misinformed headlines. Now, you said you've built over 29 years, you've built 113 homes, is it?
Yes.
Where? Geographically, what is your reach?
Well, we are throughout York County. We've done in York, we're approaching our 80 of those 113 homes are in the city of York. But then we're scattered throughout the county. We have about 20 homes in Dover. We have them in Windsor, Felton, Hanover. In fact, we're dedicating our 114th house in October in Hanover. So that will be our 5th house there. So we're very much property driven at this point, meaning where we get property donated is typically where we will go and try to find supporters in that area to support that particular build. But which is why we have such a presence in the city. We're the #1 homeownership program and the most successful program in the city of York, and providing for the lowest income families to be homeowners. So we've always had an excellent partnership with the Redevelopment Authority for the city. We also work in partnership with the county. We've been blessed to get some federal funds that have allowed us to acquire a few of the houses, but typically we rely on donated property, and then that's sort of where we head if it works for our program.
I think that's a really important thing for our viewers to hear and to know. I wasn't real cognizant of that either. So a lot of your houses are built where someone has donated a plot of land to you, to Habitat. So if someone's watching the show right now and wants to know a little more about that, how does that work? How does that work?
Basically, they contact us. We'll take a look at the property if we feel that it's in an area where that would support home ownership and that we can pull resources from the community. We've been very blessed. We just got a lot donated in Spring Grove. We're working on one being donated in York Haven. We have one donated in Wrightsville. So and basically, and we have a new program too that even if we can't use the property for our ministry, if it doesn't, for some reason work, that if they can still donate it to us, get the tax deductible contribution, and then we would be able to sell it with the proceeds coming back to our mission as well. So even if we can't actually put a home on it, if the donor is acceptable for it to be, to basically, in the long run, both ways, extremely help our ministry expand.
Wow, so that's great. If you've got land out there that you want to donate to Habitat, here's your opportunity. So let's take this moment to get the website and the contact information out. We'll put it on the screen, but why don't you just let folks know so that they can get on the website and learn a little more for themselves? Yeah,
our website is www.yorkhabitat.org. And on there they'll find all the projects that we're doing. There's a link to our newly created volunteer management system that allows you to do everything electronically to register for meetings and events and construction site. So that's a link under the volunteer tab on the website. So just a lot of great information there. Of course, information about how you can donate, connecting directly to our Donate Now system. So again, that's www.yorkhabitat.org.
I'd like to go back a little bit to how people get involved in Habitat. You mentioned a bit about families qualifying for housing. I know that on this show we tend to focus on congregations and organizations, but Habitat isn't limited, even though it has always considered itself a ministry. You're happy for any help from anyone, from elbow grease to dollars, I know. But let's focus a little bit on those local resources. Say someone donates a plot of land. You mentioned Spring Grove. So it's not just having the land. Then what do you begin to look for? What are those resources, Stacy?
Well, as far as the family, we tend to probably about, again, like a year and a half out, we'll start looking for a family. And we typically try to find a family from that area. So we would typically go to Spring Grove or Hanover or wherever we're building and heavily, advertise there to try to find a family that's in need, already living in that neighborhood, that is in need of housing. We do advertise it in general, but it's always nice to find somebody that's already living in that community that has that need for housing. So I do the same thing in York and different areas. We try to just heavily advertise in that area for somebody that's already there, that wants to stay there in that community that needs the housing.
So you've got the family. Then how do you go about building the network that moves the project forward?
Yeah, and we do both new construction and rehab, so people can not only donate land, but we have a lot of donations of existing homes as well. So that's another option. We're about to get one through an estate that was, donated given to the children through a will, and none of the children wanted, so they're donating the existing property to Habitat. So we kind of start from there, and usually in addition to the family taking about a year, it takes us about a year of planning, because we try to assemble a planning team of people from the area or from the sponsoring organization. Often, as an example, Gladfelder Paper is partnering with us in celebration of their 150th anniversary for the Spring Grove property that we mentioned, and People's Bank donated the lot in celebration of their 150th also. So those two organizations partnering, but now we formed a planning planning team with a lot of the folks from Gladfelder Paper and from the community. So that's kind of where it begins to form your volunteer committees, handling volunteer recruitment. Of course, fundraising is huge, corporate solicitation, and so you kind of build those committees, and a lot of planning, a lot of hard work goes into it, even prior to digging, that first shovelful of dirt or starting to tear out if it's a rehab. So there's volunteer opportunities from the ground up involved, and it is, like I said, it's really complex, and the fundraising isn't always the fun part of it. Everybody wants to come build, but we have to have the sponsors and the dollars in place ahead of the build, or at least partially, because a lot of people say, well, you're getting the mortgages, back, mortgage payments from the existing families. Well, that doesn't come back for 30 years at a 0% interest rate mortgage. So we need money up front. So we need donations of in-kind materials are huge for us. Rather than, some companies can't write a check, but perhaps they can donate lumber or drywall or HVAC systems. So that's been huge for us as well. So, trying to raise as much support as we can prior to the build, and of course during the build, and then the build or rehab itself takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months, normally about 6 months. So during that time, those committees are ongoing and continuing to work on their areas of that they're concentrating on. Stacy and the family services are continuing to work with the family. They're doing all their requirements, and the hope is that the timing is there. Everything comes together. The family's done with everything they have to. We're done with the house. We've gotten all the inspections, and everything is good to go. And then we celebrate that awesome day of dedication, which is where everybody comes together. And you sometimes wonder through the process and through the struggles, and especially trying to get through all the the red tape often involved in some of the funding sources, like whether it's really worth it. But I always have the pleasure of handing the keys to that family during that dedication, and then it's like, okay, this is why we do what we do, and this is it kind of brings it all to to reality.
The looks on those faces are worth more than a paycheck.
Oh, absolutely.
I've had the opportunity to be part of a building team and help build some of Habitat's homes, and also be at a home dedication, and from beginning to end. Also, I'd forgotten, but I was part of the training, family training around home safety and security and that sort of stuff. It was always really fun. I loved that part of it. Let's just talk about how, for example, a congregation can get involved with Habitat. Say they never thought of it before, and this is all brand new, like, oh wow, we ought to be doing that. So what ought they to do, or can they do?
Oh, there's many ways that that congregations get involved, from coming out to volunteer, or having us come out and speak. We'll come out to congregations and speak and talk more about our program to the congregation, to taking up a special collection for Habitat. We've had vacation Bible schools use our under construction kind of theme, and do a Habitat theme for vacation Bible school. So there's obviously like fundraising, that type of stuff. Just keeping us in their prayers. That things continue. We continue to run successfully. We always are in need of church ambassadors, and that somebody just is a voice for Habitat in their church, so to just get the information out to the church of what we're doing and what needs we have. Work camp suppers, we have groups that need suppers when they're in town.
Oh, right.
So those are great things. Help with dedications. We always have those special events that we need, like to have churches to help get involved there. So there's just, many ways for churches and congregations to get involved with Habitat.
I know when I worked for the city, we would periodically, and I don't know who arranged it, but word would go out that they were assembling a build team for a specific couple of days or day, and employees would say, oh, I want to help with that. So we were like a team from a particular organization. What do you do to, say you've got a team of 15 people from a congregation, what do they need to do to actually, they don't just show up with a hammer at your site.
No.
I mean, it takes, coordinating volunteers is really complicated.
It's like herding cats.
That's what we say about church too.
Right.
It's like herding cats, so we have that in common. But how do you prepare and work with a team of volunteers?
Well, and teams can come from corporations. They can come from we have an individual group of folks that just hang out at one of the local restaurants periodically, and they've formed a work team. They come from schools and churches, of course, are huge, but we have the ability to coordinate them. A lot is with our new volunteer management system has really helped with that. But if you're looking for a group, we typically can take 10 on the construction site at a time, and that's all coordinated through our volunteer coordinator, who actually reserve a day for them, and then nobody else can sign up for that day, and we will then individually, they will go on, we call it our volunteer hub, or the hub as is known. They'll go on and sign in as individuals. You watch a safety video, sign the waiver, you get all the guidelines for the construction site. Everything is online, and then they can go in and actually sign up for that day that's been reserved for them, because there's a special code for that. So it really has been beneficial to be able to reserve spots for groups. And then as an individual too, you can go on and see, well, even if you and a friend want to come out, you can see, well, okay, 8 spots are filled, but there's still 2 spots available, so we can sign up for those 2 spots. So it's really, really, we used to have the old-fashioned way of, you'd email in and say, I'd like to volunteer this Saturday, and we'd say, no, I'm sorry, that Saturday's full. Is there another Saturday that works? So now that has really assisted us and allowed congregations, especially, to be able, the key is having a key coordinator, like one contact person from that group, to be able to work with us, and even beyond the opportunities that Stacy mentioned. Every few years we do what we call a Building on Faith project, and that unites congregations from all over the county. There tend to be some denominational barriers sometimes that exist, and Habitat is one of those organizations that there are none. When you get to the site, everybody is treated equally. We are a Christian-based organization, but you don't have to be a Christian to swing a hammer. Millard Fuller, the founder, has a philosophy of the hammer, and it's that hammer doesn't know anything about your race, your religion, your political background, your income level. It's just that good that we can all do with that common hammer. Yeah. So when you get to the construction site, we're all equal. But the Building on Faith project that happens every couple of years is congregations from throughout the community coming together to do the fundraising, to do the planning for the build, to work with the family. So they really, they do everything for the build from start to finish. So that's an ongoing project that we're raising money for. Like, we just finished one in 2013. We built a duplex on Albemarle Street for 2 single moms. It was just an amazing project. But as soon as that one's done, then we start fundraising for the next one. We hope will be in 2017, but it all depends, on the funds that are available, when we actually like set that here's where it's going to be, here's when it's going to be, and then the congregations really unite at that point to really begin the fundraising and the planning for that.
So is it, what do you need? Dollar-wise, what does it take to build a house and get a family in it?
If you're just for the actual construction materials and direct labor alone is $100,000. If you add in all the operational costs and everything involved, we're up about $125,000. So that is one of, obviously, our biggest challenges is we are on target to do 5 homes a year. Through our program in addition, and then we also have a repair program that we just started, but through the home ownership program, it's 5 homes a year is what we've targeted. So it's a tremendous amount of funds that we have to raise, and some people question, well, $125,000 and you're just helping one family. But again, as we talk about how it affects the family, generations to come, the community, the tax base, it's just the ripple effect. So it is somewhat of a hard sell sometimes, but usually when people, fully understand the program, it's definitely still a challenge to raise that amount of dollars. But we're getting there one home at a time.
You are. Well, I tell this story all the time, even though I've retired from the city police department now for over 6 years. But I worked with Neighborhood Watch and community services in the police department for 22 years. And I knew where the problem neighborhoods were. There were problems for the people who lived there. There were recurring problems for the city, for quality of life, for the police department. And I remember very specifically one block that was just full of good people who were tearing their hair out, working as hard as they could to organize themselves and improve the quality of life in their block. But there was an abandoned building that was just a mess. Eventually, Habitat for Humanity got that lot, built 2 homes in that block, changed that block forever. I drive through there all the time and I just look over and it just warms my heart, because we no longer got calls to that block as the police, except to come and enjoy the annual block party for National Night Out. And that's the difference that $125,000 makes. It's not just about the family and the home.
Right.
It is about changing and strengthening neighborhood. And I don't know of a citizen, a neighbor, a business, or a faith community that can argue with that goal. I mean, that is a mission that we all hope for and pray for. So there's no substitute for elbow grease.
Right.
There really isn't.
No.
Nor is there a substitute for cold hard cash. And I know that Habitat uses both to very good ends. And I just appreciate so much the work that you do. How many staffers do you have for Habitat? What is the size of this remarkable organization?
Not large enough. We have a staff of 9. Now that includes part-time and on the construction site. So I'm blessed to have an extremely dedicated staff. Everybody works more than the hours that they're truly paid for, but we do it because of the mission. But that's why volunteers are so critical. Right now, one of our biggest needs is volunteers on our committee level. Everybody knows of us for construction, and that's the really cool, fun thing. But it, as you said, it takes a village to be able to build these homes and to change the lives of the families. So we have committees in place that are in charge of the various aspects of the program, because most people don't realize we are actually threefold. We're a construction company, we're a financial institution because we hold the mortgages for the families, and we're a human service organization. Right. So it takes a lot of pieces and parts to make that all work together. So we have a committee that helps us select the projects. We have the family services committee that helps with the families. We have the development committee. We have a newly formed volunteer recruitment committee. So those are all pieces of the puzzle that need to fit together, and it's a tremendous burden on the staff when we don't have, those committees functioning, and we're not able to function properly. Right. So we're looking for people who are willing to commit to, typically the committees meet once a month, and like I said, handle the various aspects. There's some work involved, in between the meetings, but one of the absolute beauties of Habitat is that everyone is welcome. And there's a way to involve anyone from, I spoke on the committees, down to, we had Cub Scouts at our last build come and give homemade trail mix to the volunteers. We had them make step stools for our families. We've had the VBS, the young ones have donated cleaning supplies for our families. So it's just an amazing, like if you kind of think outside of the box and beyond the construction, how many ways there are to get folks involved. And that's really, beyond the dollars, our biggest need right now is volunteers in every aspect of the organization.
That's really good to know. I'm suddenly, you've helped me kind of think outside the box to the number of people who would say, oh, I can't be on the build. I've got mobility issues, or I'm too old, or the thing that I'm really good at is has nothing to do with building. Well, there's a committee that needs your skill set, everything from finance to volunteer organization, as you said. And the other beauty of this is that you've just highlighted is the multi-generational reach. You know, for a congregation who's perhaps looking for ways to get the young people and youth involved in an outreach or social justice project that isn't going to, you're not going to take, you know, your first and second graders to a building site, but oh my gosh, you know, making trail mix for the build and the step stool idea, that's just brilliant. I know you've said it takes anywhere from 6 months to a year from beginning to end. What is the typical window of time on the building site? Certainly it's during good weather time, I would imagine.
Oh, we build year-round, which most people don't realize.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So right there you go.
Yeah, we have construction for the general public every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, year-round.
Oh my.
And we do try to keep you inside over the winter, but can't guarantee that. Sometimes we're outside.
Nature of the work.
But yeah, and that's another thing people don't realize. They see us out there for the big blitz builds, you know, where the walls go up and the roof goes on. But, you know, that just gets the shell done, and it takes usually about another 6 to 9 months to actually construct. Rehab takes us a little bit longer because there's often, when we do a rehab, it's extensive. It's gutting the place. It's tearing everything out and starting from scratch, basically. But for pretty much it's 6 to 9 months of pretty intense construction on the site, and that's all coordinated. We are so blessed to have not only skilled site supervisors, but extremely patient. You know, so there's people out there who are saying, well, I can't hang drywall. I've never done that. Well, you come to the site, and by the end of the day, you'll be a pro at hanging drywall because they figure out how to. They teach you, they guide you, they step back, and they let you do it. So it may take you 30 swipes to get that nail in, where they can hit it in 3. But you know, they'll let you do it, and that's just, it's such satisfaction. I met with one of the prominent members of the York community the other month, and he still remembers working on our East Princess Street sites like back in 1995. You know, he talks about how he hung drywall there, and it's just, that's something that you're going to remember forever. And so you're impacting, you know, even the youth that bring out that trail mix, you know, they're going to remember. In that case, like the volunteers were working in the pouring down rain with mud up to our knees, and here comes the Boy Scouts bringing us the trail mix, and you know, it just impacts in so many ways.
It does. It really does. It's a wonderful story from our community, and I'm just going to thank you both for bringing the story to our viewers, reminding us of ways that we can really make a difference for our neighbors and for ourselves. Is there anything else you really want our viewers to know about Habitat?
You know, just, you know, that we're here, and again, just stress how everyone is welcome. Even if, you know, you can make a quilt for the family, you can make a scrapbook, you can take pictures for us, you can do grant research, you can do postings online, you can post to Craigslist. Like, our list just goes on, and you know, really trying to get beyond that. All we do is construction.
Right.
So you can have the most obscure way that you want to get involved, and you know, don't think of it as that, like, write it off. Come to us, and you know, we'll see if there's any way to make it work. We will.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I know there are some people who say, you know, I really want to do something. I want to volunteer in some way in the community, but I just don't know what. Now I will respond by saying, call Habitat for Humanity and tell them your story. They'll find a place for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And thank you again for tuning in. Remember, Habitat for Humanity. And if you've got anything to offer, from sweat to cash, or an idea, call Habitat for Humanity or click onto the website and hit Contact Us. Thanks again, Stacy and Debbie.
Thank you.
Thank you.